The Chiefs and the Chargers play a big game on Thursday night. We have two huge college basketball games this weekend as part of the Indiana Crossroads Classic. We have two huge games tonight in the NBA that will have everybody talking. And in the world of the NFL, we have two big games that have playoff implications riding on the line. And it is the start of Bowl Mania week in college football as we get ready for the first day of bowl season in college football. I will have all of that for you today, and we will start the show right after this.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sport.
And a pleasant good Friday afternoon here, everybody. It is now time for the Scott Manning YouTube Sports Weekend Kickoff Show. We got a lot to talk about here. I'm going to be here for about a half hour, 45 minutes. We'll go right into the show and let's get started. Last night, the Kansas City Chiefs came from behind to beat the LA Chargers 34-28. Patrick Mahomes last night, 31-47, 410 yards. Tyreek Hill. Okay, now we're done. Tyreek Hill, 12 catches, 148 yards, and a touchdown of his own. Last night for the Chargers, Justin Herbert, 22-38, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. He also had 5 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown of his own. Austin Eckler, 12 carries, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Keenan Allen, 6 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. And Joey Bosa from Ohio State had the only sack in the game. That was it. The Chiefs did not have a sack, and they did not even have a tackle for loss last night. The Chargers' red zone woes showed last night, and Kansas City was not immune from them either. But it was the Chargers that had most trouble. 3 trips to the red zone, they came up empty-handed. Case in point. On a kickoff in the second quarter, they had a chance. They ran 75 yards, and they had 5 plays to put it into the end zone. They came up empty-handed. That's how bad it was. But when it was all said and done, Travis Kelce was the hero of the game with the 7-yard touchdown catch in overtime. That's all that the Chargers needed to get the victory. But there was a terrifying moment in the game last night. LA Chargers tight end Donald Parham, the 24-year-old, appeared to lose consciousness after hitting his head on the turf during an incomplete pass in the first quarter. He was helped off the field on a stretcher and taken to a local hospital. At the latest report that we have, and this is pretty good. This is pretty good news, and this is encouraging. Parham appears to have a concussion, and he's being kept for observation due to a head injury. He was taken to the Harbor UCLA Medical Center, where he's being checked out for a possible head injury. A CAT scan is going to be scheduled for later today. But still, to hear that he's in stable condition at this hour is pretty good news. I saw that injury last night. I saw the replays of it. It was not good. He lost consciousness. His eyes were shut. His mouth was wide open. His right arm was frozen. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't like seeing stuff like that. You hit your head on that turf. That hurts. I'm going to say this. I think some of these football fields need to switch to grass, to be honest with you. I've seen some of those games being played on the turf. That is no picnic. And that's a fact of the matter. I'm not going to make this up. But I'm glad Donald Parham's going to hopefully everything is sounding encouraging. He is in stable condition. Let's hope and pray for the best. The Chiefs have won their 7th in a row, beating the Chargers 34-28. And that's all I can say about this game from last night. All right. Let's move on. I was going to talk about Ohio State, Kentucky, and get you ready for the big weekend in college basketball. The only ranked week matchup of the weekend. That game has been canceled due to COVID and within the Buckeye program. So there will be no Ohio State, Kentucky this weekend. However, we have 2 other games. These 2 games are part of the Crossroads Classic. Number 3 Purdue faces Butler. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy that I'm talking about this, but Butler could possibly pull off an upset. Anything can happen. We've had 4 teams that were ranked number 1. They've all gone down. Purdue is one of them. So keep that in mind. This is going to be a fun game for a lot of reasons. If you look at the squad leaders for each team, for Purdue, Travion Williams and Jaden Ivey, you'll see what I mean. Right now, Travion Williams has been averaging 14.2 points per game and 9.3 rebounds per game. Jaden Ivey, 16.4 points per game and 5.4 rebounds a game. But if you look at Butler, it may not sound impressive, but I've seen stranger things happen. Chuck Harris, he may only average 11.6 points per game and 4 rebounds per game. But don't let that fool you. Jair Bolden, 11.4 points per game and 2.3 rebounds per game. If you want to create offense, if you're looking for a team to be creating offense, look for Purdue's Travion Williams. He has made or assisted on 47% of all of Purdue's field goals in the last 3 games. And that's going to be something to keep in mind. But if you want floor spacing, and this is where Jair Bolden comes back in, Jair Bolden has attempted 62 3-pointers this season and has connected on 41.9%. That could be huge. And he's connected on 11 of 32 in the last 5 games. That is the most important thing for Jair Bolden. That could be big. If Bolden hits a bunch of threes, Butler's going to win this game. If he can, say if Bolden hits a bunch of threes, he hits 9 of 10, Butler has a chance. But the scoring offense is the big story in this game. Purdue averages 87.4 points per game, and it's the 3rd highest in Division I. Butler, they're only averaging 64.9 points per game. That's 242nd nationally. You want a David and Goliath? This is one of them. This is the game you need to watch. And the assist ratios are something else to think about too. Purdue's been averaging 55.3% in the last 3 games. Butler, 50.6. That's something to think about going into this game on Saturday. And this is a 12 noon tip on Fox. If Butler wants to pull off the upset, Jair Bolden's got to hit like about 10 of 12 from beyond the arc if they want to pull off the upset. And Butler's got to find a way to contain Travion Williams and Jaden Ivey. Those are the 2 players that Butler's going to have to worry about. And that's a fact of the matter. I'm not going to say this for my health. I've seen how good Purdue is. Purdue's in Big Ten country, and I'm a Big Ten guy. But if Butler wants to pull off the upset, this is what they have to do. And I've laid it out for you. All right. Let's move on. The second game of the Crossroads Classic. Oh, yeah. Indiana versus Notre Dame. The Indiana Super Seniors, Race Thompson, Xavier Johnson, Miller Kopp, and Parker Stewart have combined to account for 48% of the team's scoring this year and 57% of the Hoosiers' points over the last 5 games. I had to kind of look at the notes to make sure I read it right. And dominant Dane Goodwin has connected on 42.1% of the 38 three-pointers he's attempted and has made 9 of 22 over the last 5 games. He's also made 90% of his free throws, too, this season. But as for Notre Dame, it's not something to brag about. From beyond the arc, Notre Dame Karnak Ryan has attempted 31 three-pointers and has made 29% of them. And he is 5 for 18 over the last 5 games. Notre Dame is struggling at 500 this season, but anything can happen. And if you want to get defensive, look no further. Indiana has held opponents to a field goal percentage of 34.9%, the second lowest in Division I. That is how good Indiana is. Notre Dame has a lot of opponents, and here's the thing for Notre Dame, and this is the one thing that worries me. Notre Dame has a lot of opponents to shoot 44.4% through the first 8 games. That's 264th nationally. How humiliating and how embarrassing. If Bob Knight was coaching in Notre Dame, he would tell his guys, shove it down their throat. Let's humiliate them at their own game. You know what? Personally, I would love to see Indiana. I honestly cannot wait to see Indiana and Purdue face off in college basketball. I cannot. If those two teams face off, it's going to be a battle. Gene Keady and Bob Knight would have a field day with that. And that's the truth of the matter. I'm not going to sit here and say anything that ain't true. I'll tell you what. This game, Indiana Notre Dame, is going to be fun to watch. I'm going to see we'll see Notre Dame Super Seniors get the job done against Notre Dame. I got a feeling on that. This game's probably going to be over 5 minutes in. But it is the Crossroads Classic. And anything can happen on a given Saturday. And it usually does. Okay, let's move on. We have 2 games tonight in the NBA that I'm going to talk about today. Tonight's game at 7:30 between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics on ESPN. The bottom line is this, and it's very simple. Jason Tatum had 42 points in the victory over the Milwaukee Bucks on Tuesday night in that 117-103 victory. Now, the Celtics have struggled on the road, but at home they're pretty good. They have a 7-4 record. But Golden State is 9-3. And if you think about Jason Tatum and Steph Curry, those are your 2 top performers. Jason Tatum, he's been averaging 26.2 points per game and 8.6 rebounds per game. And Golden State, Steph Curry's been averaging 28.9 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game, 6.1 assists per game, and 1.6 steals per game. That is why the Golden State Warriors are the hottest team in the NBA's Western Conference. Have they come back to restart a new dynasty? Personally, I hope not. I shouldn't sound like that, but after all those times that Cleveland played Golden State in the finals, they beat us like 3 times. We don't need another dynasty. Look, I know I shouldn't be saying dynasty because of Crystal and all the issues that Crystal and Alexis have. I'm sorry, but I gotta say. But in the last 10 games, the Boston Celtics have had some struggles. They've gone 4-6 in their last 10 games, and they've been averaging 108.4 points per game in those 10 games. Their opponents, they've allowed 110.2 points per game. That's something that scares me. The Golden State Warriors, they're 7-3 in their last 10 games. They've been averaging 107.4 points per game, and their opponents only 99.2. Steph Curry's going to be stepping up tonight because they don't have Tristan Thompson in the lineup due to injury. And that's the truth. I'm not going to lie to you. 7:30 to 9 on ESPN. We'll see what happens here this evening. Then we have a 10:30 game tonight on ESPN between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The bottom line is very simple. Minnesota is looking to end a three-game home skid with a win. And the Timberwolves are 9-9 against conference opponents. And they're only 7-11 with teams with a 500 or better record. Yeah. Let me repeat that again. The Minnesota Timberwolves are 7-11 with opponents with a winning record. That's something to think about. And as for the Los Angeles Lakers, they have gone 8-9 against they have gone 8-9 this season against Western Conference opponents. Los Angeles ranks fifth in the Western Conference, shooting 35.8% from three-point range. And of course, you got the top performers you got to look at. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, you got Anthony Edwards. He's shooting 36% from beyond the arc. While he's been doing that, he's been averaging 22.1 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 3.6 assists per game, and 1.6 steals per game. And Karl Anthony Towns, in the past 10 games, he's been averaging 27.6 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, and 3.3 assists per game. That is important going into this weekend. In the Los Angeles Lakers, over their last 10 games, Anthony Davis, he's been averaging 23.8 points per game and 10.2 rebounds per game. They've got to contain him tonight. And LeBron James, 29.1 points per game and 6.8 rebounds per game when he's not busy not being a crybaby. I'm sorry, but LeBron is turning into a wuss. LeBron is crying. He always cries like a baby when he doesn't get his way. You know what? I shouldn't sound like this, but I'm going to say it. I'm glad Isaiah Stewart of the Detroit Pistons actually wanted to go at LeBron. You know what I would have done in that game? When the Pistons played the Lakers, I would have told everybody, get out of the way, let Isaiah Stewart have a piece of LeBron. Because LeBron's turning into a punk. And when he had a little cramp, he had to be helped off the court. And that's just me. I'm sorry, but you're playing basketball, you're making all sorts of money. Play the game and play it right. And in the last 10 games for these two teams, the Minnesota Timberwolves have averaged 110.8 points per game, but their opponents have averaged 117.4 points per game. Yikes! And in the last 10 games for the Lakers, hey, they know how to score. They've averaged 114.4 points per game, and they've shut their opponents down to 107.7. That could be important tonight. But back to LeBron James for a second. LeBron, I loved him when he was in Cleveland. He brought a championship home to Cleveland. He said he was going to do that. Ever since he's gone to LA, he's had an attitude problem. And when he took that shot at Isaiah Stewart in Detroit, you know what I would have done? Isaiah Stewart should have just turned around and clocked him when should have Pearl Harbored him, just to teach him a lesson that you're in the NBA. And if I would have seen that, the first thing I would have done was both of them get 2 games. LeBron would have gotten 2 games for throwing the punch and instigating the fight. Now Isaiah Stewart, I would have supported the 2 games because he was acting like a jerk. I shouldn't sound like this. I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you this. Personally, as commissioner, that's what I would have done. But on a personal note, I would have said, get out of the way. Let Isaiah Stewart go after LeBron, just to teach him a lesson that you don't mess with people here in the NBA. He needs to play the game and stop acting like. And LeBron needs to play the game and stop acting like a fool. And that's all there is to it. All right. Let's move on to the NFL. We've got a rivalry game this weekend, folks, believe it or not. The New England Patriots face the Indianapolis Colts. However, for the first time since 1997, we will not have Peyton Manning and Tom Brady as the two stars of the game. Patriots quarterback Mac Jones has said he has watched rivalry games between these two from the past. He said, I love watching those type of games. And I'm glad to be in this one. And believe me, I'm proud of it. Now think about this. If you would have gone back to September or October, everybody was saying there was no way these two teams would be facing off with playoff implications on the line. The Indianapolis Colts have come back from a 1-4 start to hang on to the 6th spot in the AFC playoff race. The New England Patriots started the season 2-4, and they've climbed all the way to the conference's top spot. There's a lot at stake on Saturday night, and this is a Saturday night game. This is a game on Saturday night, and everybody knows what's at stake. Colts running back Jonathan Taylor has already said this is a big game, and the young guys can get rattled if you make a mistake, if you make it bigger than it should be. I just told them, take it one play at a time. And I really like what Jonathan Taylor said, and I agree with that. There is no reason why this game should get overhyped. Yes, there's playoff implications on the line. The Colts are hanging on to the 6th spot in the AFC playoff race. But I'm going to tell you, this is going to be fun on Saturday night. The game is in Mactown at Indianapolis. And let's see how the Patriots do. Can they hang on to that 1 spot in the AFC playoff race? Or can the Colts climb up, at least climb up to the 5 spot in the AFC playoff picture? It's going to come down to who wants it the most on Saturday. We'll see what happens, how this game progresses. And the other game that I'm going to talk about with playoff implications on the line, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Denver Broncos. Cincinnati wide receiver T. Higgins put it at best. We are fighting for our playoff lives, and we needed to win, and we need to take care of business. Bengals quarterback Joe Mixon has already said, if we don't win this game, we're done. We're going to be in a world of trouble. We're going to be lucky to make the playoffs. We're not going to win the division if we lose to the Broncos. Denver tight end Noah Fant has already said we will have home field advantage, the home field crowd behind us, and we can make a playoff push. But we got to win, and we got to take care of business and get the job done. Right now, the Bengals are hanging on to the 7th seed in the play. Right now, the Bengals are hanging on for dear life. The Broncos are in the hunt for the playoffs. We only got a few weeks to go in the season. And I'm going to tell you the truth. This is going to be a playoff race that's going to come down to the very end of the season. I'm not going to say anything that ain't true. Let's say this. The Broncos and the Bengals, everything is on the line this coming Sunday. All right, folks, I've got some fantastic news. We actually start College Bowl Mania week. We start the college football bowl season today at 12 noon with the Bahamas Bowl. Middle Tennessee State faces Toledo. I know it's odd, but it is the start of Capital One Bowl Mania on ESPN. And, of course, the winner of this game wins the Bahamas Bowl. But the key matchup of this game is Toledo quarterback DeQuan Finn and the Toledo offense versus the Middle Tennessee State defense. DeQuan Finn, he's only a redshirt freshman for crying out loud. 1,855 yards passing the season, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a QBR rating of 63. And here's the thing with Toledo. Toledo's had the fewest interceptions, the fewest turnovers with 6, and 2 interceptions nationally. But the Middle Tennessee State defense, and this is a dangerous defense, 31 turnovers, 6 defensive touchdowns, 15 fumbles recovered. This is going to be a battle all the way to the end. And this is a 12 noon game today on ESPN. And the players to watch for the game today are Middle Tennessee State quarterback Nick Viatis. 777 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And he's completed 66 of 93 passes. That's for 71% over his last 3 games. I know it doesn't sound impressive, but it is the lower conferences like a MAC in the Sun Belt. Toledo running back Brian Kobach. He's had 190 rushing attempts for 1,274 yards this season, 15 touchdowns, and he's also averaged 6.7 yards per rush. He is 4th all-time in rushing at Toledo with 3,900 career rushing yards. Bahamas Bowl, 12 noon today. Let's get ready to rumble, and we are going to have a blast today. May the best team win. And I think this is going to be loads and loads of fun. And that's all there is to it. And today, other bowl game today, the Tail Greeter Cure Bowl. I know some of these bowl games are weird, have weird names, but hey, what can I say? This game will feature Northern Illinois, the MAC champions, versus Coastal Carolina. The key matchup for this game is Coastal Carolina quarterback Grayson McCall versus NIU's defense. And also, too, Grayson McCall is the 2020-2021 Sun Belt Player of the Year. Keep that in mind. And here's why. Grayson McCall, he's had 2,558 yards passing this season, 23 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a QBR of 81.1. And his efficiency rating is 207.95. That will surpass Mac Jones from Alabama 1 year ago. He had like about 203 something, if my memory serves me right. As for the NIU defense, oh boy. The Northern Illinois defense has surrendered 32.7 points per game and has given 447.7 yards per game. They've given all that up. That is not good. The players to watch for this game are NIU MAC Freshman of the Year, Jay Rucker. He's had 194 rushing attempts this season for 1,038 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's averaged 5.4 yards per rush. In the MAC championship game, he had 29 rushes for 146 yards. And as for Coastal Carolina, the player I have on my watch list is wide receiver Javian Haley. 59 catches this season for 1,034 yards, 7 touchdowns, and he's averaged 17.5 yards per catch. He's only 44 yards away from the school Seagull season record held by former NFL receiver Jerome Simpson. He had 1,077 for Coastal Carolina. Bowl Mania weekend starts today. It's Bowl Mania. It's that time of the year when the college football bowl games get started, and they start today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for my closing thoughts. As many of you know, the Cleveland Browns have a mess load of players under COVID-19 protocols. Baker Mayfield has ripped the NFL for their COVID-19 protocols, and Baker Mayfield has said they need to cancel the Browns-Raiders game on Saturday. He ripped the league for saying, you want to cancel these games, but you want to make a lot of money off of them. They need to cancel the Browns-Raiders game. That's all there is to it. Because the Browns have nobody left. And to be quite honest with you, that's what needs to happen. I mean, there's a lot of players in the NFL that are in COVID-19 protocols right now. There's a few games in college basketball that have been affected by this. They need every sports league needs to try to find a way to get their stuff together. Most of them are trying. I'll give them credit. But there's a few sports leagues like the NBA, like the NFL, they need to get something done. And that's all there is to it. Baker Mayfield is absolutely right. They need to call off the Browns-Raiders game. And I know that's supposed to be a Saturday afternoon game on national, with a big national television audience tuning in on the NFL Network. But you got to say, hey, something's got to give. And that's all there is to it. And that, folks, that is my closing thoughts. But before I go, I do need to make an announcement. I just want to let you know, next Friday, Christmas Eve, there will be no weekend kickoff show. And on Sunday night, December 26th, there will be no weekend wrap-up show. I just want to make you aware of that right now. Due to the Christmas holiday, there will be no sports shows from me next weekend. I may do snippet videos during the week, but as far as a regular show on Friday and Sunday, those will not be happening due to the Christmas holiday, because I am going to be away spending time with my family. And I just want to thank you guys so much for being with me here on this Friday. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being with me, and God bless. Hey, and the Bahamas Bowl starts in a few minutes on ESPN. Thank you guys so much for being with me. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for being with me, and God bless. Good night, everybody, and I thank you.